In just 3 days, copper lost more than 4.5%. Have we seen the cycle top for copper? Is the decline going to continue for the remainder of the cycle? Well, let's talk about copper cycles. At least since middle of 2017, these cycles lasted for an average of 130 days, but the copper cycles are somewhat tricky, and copper has been quite volatile since 2020, rising from around $2 to nearly $5 a couple of years after the pandemic lows. So with the cycles being tricky, they range anywhere between 59 days and 198 days, again with an average of 130 days. The ongoing cycle is already 70 days long. That's pretty close to the average midpoint of the cycle, so there is a pretty good chance that we have seen the cycle top a few days ago. But of course nobody does know the future, so we might still see another push to a slightly higher high before copper drops down into its cycle low sometime over the next 2 to 3 months. One of the big reasons why I do expect copper to decline down into its cycle low, even if it first gives us a slightly higher high, is the development in the stock market. As I mentioned in one of my recent videos, the stock market is somewhat overbought, and I do expect a decline down into its intermediate cycle low. We might have actually started this decline just a few days ago. Luckily, I've been positioned for that, as I show in this model portfolio at myfinanceteacher.org. So for more details, feel free to join us. Next, let's have a quick look at copper optics, which is also pretty volatile. There are periods when these copper cycle lows take place with the optimism index, somewhere between 50 and 60. That happened all through the second half of 2020 and all through 2021. But generally, historically, good buying opportunities and cycle lows in copper come with this optimism index, somewhere around this green line, around the level of 30. 70 days ago, at the beginning of the ongoing cycle, we have seen optics tap this green line, and it's recently peaked slightly above 50. So, as I mentioned again, there is still a room to grow up to perhaps the level of high 50s or 60 before the cycle tops and eventually declines down into the cycle low. But I wouldn't really betting too much on this. I wouldn't be betting a farm on this, as we might see perhaps only a modest bounce, a bit of a head and shoulders formation before decline down into the cycle low. After all, the market is overbought. This is COPX, copper miners. They have started to decline over the last 3 days as well, and might continue to do so. More interesting is to look at the ratio of copper miners to copper itself, and as you see, we are at almost historically highest levels. So while copper itself has already came down quite significantly from its peaks in early 2022, relatively speaking, copper miners are still quite expensive. So while I don't really expect them to drop out of bed significantly, there might be a bit of a correction while the stock market corrects down into its intermediate cycle low. And talking about the copper miners, over the last many months, we have been holding a couple of reliable dividend-paying large copper miners, and just in the last couple of days, I've reduced that position in expectation of this bit of a correction, perhaps over the next couple of months. And lastly, let's have a look at copper seasonality. Looking at it since 2016, that's the beginning of that bull market in commodities. And as you see, going out from early August into September and October, we don't usually see copper shooting higher. Seasonally stronger prices in copper materialize after October. And in this top panel, the average percentage gains and losses per month, we see that usually August and September are red months, meaning that on average over these 7-8 years, these months were negative. But we might also have a look at seasonality excluding 2020 with its significant pandemic drop. The seasonality picture in that case does change a little bit at the beginning of the year, but looking at August, September, October, we don't see significant change here. Again, seasonality suggests that the price is generally trending sideways, which doesn't really disagree much with a possible correction down into a cycle low sometime over the next couple of months. And one interesting fact, we see a death crossover here where the 50-day moving average drops below the 200-day moving average. Let me know down in the comments below, what do you think about this cross? I don't really pay that much attention to it. We've seen a golden crossover here when the price was already declining. So share your opinion down in the comments below. Remember to hit the like button and subscribe to the channel. Have a terrific Thursday. Bye bye.